want to get into this. However, you were looking into, oh my goodness, I could make some business out of this.
Absolutely. The opportunity was there. You have to see and grab that opportunity. So, the first quality to me, there are three qualities that makes an entrepreneur successful. To me, it's like you have to be born with it, be a natural. You have to have a very clear vision, and you have to know how to execute that vision. And then all the others, like delegate, hire the smartest people, that's another thing. Everybody in my company is brilliant. Smarter than me. I always said that. Unlike the dumbest one in the company, everybody else is brilliant, from the receptionist to the senior executive, because you have to. You have to. When you run a large global company, it's delegate almost 100%. The only thing I never delegate, and I never will delegate, is like the vision of the company, the direction of the company, the client relationship, customer relationship, and the sales. And it's still the number one salesperson in the company. You have to keep doing like that.
That's amazing. Now, I have to ask you, you went... in general speaking, entrepreneurs want to go to sell to the market. They go business to consumer. But you decided from the beginning to go B2B, business to business. Mm-hmm. How come?
Because of the services, because the nature of the services in the industry that we're servicing.
What kind of service do you provide? What is SDI?
Yeah. So we started, as I mentioned before, we started providing IT staffing services, and that evolved to get into managing suppliers, because one thing, as I mentioned before, is I like to be in touch with my clients very, very often. And every time I will go and visit the client, I could just see he or her like going crazy, dealing with suppliers, having these thousands and thousands of suppliers, this huge supply chain, and going a bit crazy. And I remember once sitting down with a couple of buyers, and I look at them straight at their face, and it's like, what's your headache? What headaches do you have in your daily jobs? And both of them looked straight back at me, and they said, we have thousands and thousands of suppliers. And I say, how critical are those suppliers? Are those core suppliers? Or are they non-critical, non-core suppliers? And they were like, no, they are just the ones that we use once in a while, and this and that. And I went like, bingo, what a great idea. That's the natural evolution of our corporation. We're placing more people in here. We're placing small suppliers. But what we're doing is giving the buyers more work to do. And I said, I'm just going to reverse that. I'm going to go to them and offer them a solution where they are going to outsource a percentage of the supply chains of those non-critical, non-core suppliers to us. We are going to be managing those suppliers for them, and they're going to be saving a ridiculous amount of money, headaches. They'll have 100% of their time to really focus on their daily jobs, on what they're supposed to be doing, instead of managing small suppliers. They love that idea. So in addition of placing IT personnel, we started managing suppliers, and then we developed a system through the internet, of course, a web system, to do it, to automate that process that we still use. So the company has, through the years, has been evolving to what it is right now. Right now, our main focus is in procurement, managing the supply chains, the tail end of the supply chain in procurement, and we do the sourcing, the buying, the purchasing. We do it all. We can just either manage the suppliers, as many corporations want to. Some other clients, they want us just to manage the full solution for them. And it's doing great.
It's
25 years in business.
25 years.
Fernando, I'm celebrating my 25th year in business. Half of my life.
Congratulations. Amazing. Your story is really inspirational. Mucha inspiración.
Gracias.
Now I have to ask you, how many countries you are at this point?
So we are pretty much in all continents other than Australia. That will be a next one. And in countries, we have have quite a few locations here in the States, in the largest metropolitan areas. We have 2 locations in Canada, 4 locations in Europe, 3 locations in India, 2 in China, Singapore. We just opened in the Middle East, in Dubai. And we have a large location as well in Argentina and 2 offices in Mexico. And in Brazil, we're considering, although Argentina is managing Brazil for that. Brazil is a big market. But it's difficult to do business in Brazil.
Now that you're going to be celebrating your 25th...
I am already.
No, but now you listen to yourself. You're talking about 25 years in the business. You're talking about so many countries that I couldn't count.
Yeah.
Now, when do you think about the first day at that restaurant, when you met your partner, what comes to your mind?
What comes to my mind is that I still love what I do. Every morning when I wake up in the morning, I still have the same passion. I still have the same smile in my face, and I can't wait to get to the office or go to the airport, because I spend a ridiculous amount of time traveling. But it's just like, gosh, this is what I do. This is what I love. This is what I'm really passionate about.
So could you say in between lines that to be successful or entrepreneur or wants to jump into any business, it has to be passionate about it?
Totally passionate about it. One thing that I always say, one term that I always use, you have to be very passionate, but you also have to be a humble hustler. I always say that. To be successful in business, you have to be a humble hustler and be very humble at everything else. But in business, figure out a way, how are you going to do it without getting the clients upset, without sounding too aggressive, and at the same time thinking that your competitor may be a little more aggressive than you or may have some other ways that you're not. So it's always like that's why I said humble hustler.
Do you think that poverty, the one that you had to go through when you were a kid in Spain, has actually shaped who you are?
Absolutely. Again, as I said before, when you come from nothing and you have nothing to lose. And you take high risk and you do whatever it takes to make it happen. Absolutely. I'm very proud of my background. I'm very proud of my family. I'm very proud of the way my parents educated us and the manners that they taught us, with no money, no hardly any formal education, but they knew. They had that old-fashioned common sense, and they had the family values, and I'm very proud of that. Thanks to that, I am who I am today.
Now, do you read a lot?
I do.
How many?
I'm flying all the time.
So you're reading. What kind of reading? What kind of reading do you? Like business or?
It's funny because I'm a bit strange on that. I like to read 2 to 3 books at the same time. I always read a business book. I read a bio. And then I read either a novel or something that make me laugh. I love to laugh. I just like people with sense of humor. That's my thing. So I usually read 2 to 3 books at the same time, and I make notes. And I'm collecting notes for the last 15 years. I've been collecting all those notes.
Where do you collect it?
I write them. I write them and I put them together, and I'm thinking, maybe when I get retired and I have time, I may write a book of all my notes, because sometimes I go through them and it's like, oh my gosh, this is funny. And how can I mix this with that? And my mind gets thinking and being a bit creative. So that's one of my hobbies. I love to read.
Yeah,
and I love movies, and I love to eat, and I love to exercise.
You know why I'm asking this? Because to me, my interpretation of the perfect entrepreneur is a person that is thirsty of learning, of acquiring wisdom.
Of course.
And Bill Gates was saying in one of his multiple presentations, that this is the best time for the people that want to learn, because you are a click away of any kind of wisdom. Before you had to walk 3 miles to ask the wise man, hey, what about this? Now you just click and you are all over the world and learning.
Absolutely.
To me, it's very important to learn, to read, to acquire knowledge so you can apply it into your project, your concept. I'm right?
Business.
You agree with this?
Mm-hmm. Totally in agreement. Absolutely, 100% in agreement with you.
And that's why I'm asking, because I know many entrepreneurs, probably you do too, and they just want to do, but they are not acquiring fresh knowledge, and they cannot expand their vision about what they could do and do it better.
Because they're not humble. They think that they know better than anybody else, and they think that they don't need to learn from anybody else. And those are the ones who will be successful for a very short time, or they will never be successful.
So do you have a special sense of failure? You really feel that this is the wrong way, I should stop and
No. We all fail. If you don't fail, you don't learn. And if you don't fail, you will never be successful.
That's risk.
So, right, exactly. So, yeah, it goes together. You have to fail. Otherwise, you're not going to learn.
Is there any special person or guide or mentor or inspirational figure that you have in your life?
My partner was one. He was the one, and then just some of my employees and some of my clients, and again, I'm a great listener, and I love to learn, and I try to learn at least 3 to 4 new things every day, if I can.
3 to 4 things every day. You learn.
Yeah. If not, sometimes when I'm in bed, I open my iPad and I just go and pick up on something that I want to learn about and read about it for a few minutes. And it's like, yeah, because today I spent like 60% of my time flying, so I didn't learn much. I didn't do that. So Carmen, you are committed. Carmen, this is what works for you. So open the iPad and learn something that you need to.
Before we talk about the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, because I know that you are a member of the board, I want to ask you, there are many entrepreneurs that are listening to this conversation, and you were telling me before that most of the new entrepreneurs, Latino entrepreneurs, are women.
Yes.
So what's your message for them, for women? Because, they are Latinas, so they are women, so that double jeopardy there, because, how do you overcome prejudice and all that stuff?
Actually, I have to stop you right there, because I think that actually being a woman is a blessing. It's not a curse. I really do. Being a woman has helped me a lot. And I was in an industry, and still on an industry, technology is being run by men. Business in general is still being run by men. And let me tell you, I took advantage of being a woman. I always invited myself. I didn't take any, I can't swear right now. I didn't take any no from any man. I didn't take any no from any, not because I'm a woman.
Were you
I'm
harassed?
A business person.
Did you feel harassment?
Yeah, sometimes, but
you handle it.
I totally handle it. So just to answer your question, my advice to young entrepreneur, and especially women, a few simple things. Number one, have a very clear vision of what you want to do and how are you going to execute it. Do your homework, learn about your competition, always have a very creative mind, and be very humble and very normal. And have plenty of old-fashioned common sense. Everybody, they don't think anymore. People nowadays are like, they just don't think. They forget that we have that thing that is called common sense, and it really works.
Which is less of commons.
The common sense is less common now. Yeah. So it's pretty much just like, again, have a vision, know how to execute.
What is resilience?
And take rest.
What is resilience for you?
But same thing. Always when you're down, get yourself up. Pick yourself up, because nobody's going to do it for you, and be persistent and know that once you start a business, you are going to fail. You are going to fail for sure. The chances of failing are very, very high. Just like the chances of running a successful restaurant are like 10%. 90% of the restaurant fail. The business is very high up. If everybody could do it, everybody will have their own businesses. It takes a very special person, very passionate person to be successful.
And I'm going to explore some other angle of your personality, because and this is related to the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
The UHSCC?
Yeah. You are a successful entrepreneur. You are, very successful. You have a worldwide or transnational or international corporation. How come invest your time in a chamber like that? I
love it. I just love it because it's one of my passions, because we always have to give back. It's part of who we are. And the UHSCC represents